Hi everyone, my name's Laura and you're watching my channel So Very Laura. Welcome to my channel if you're new here and welcome back if you're an existing subscriber. So today I'm doing my reveal of my Friday Pattern Company Pogonip pullover as part of the Pogonipparty hashtag that was set up by the lovely Christine from Gemini Stitches here on YouTube with a set of vloggers all doing videos about their own makes, but more importantly also on Instagram, where if you posted your Pogonip pullover makes on leap year day 29th of February, you were in with a chance of winning a prize, or as Christine put it, a gift. And I believe that she's going to announce the winners of that on, I think it's Monday, in her Monday vlog. So huge thank you to Christine for setting this up, because it's been massive fun. Everybody likes a party. And huge thank you to all the lovely sponsors who've been providing the prizes, and also to the vloggers support group. Christine set us up a group chat in Instagram and everybody's been so nice and so friendly and helpful. So that's all been fantastic. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about my make, which I'm actually wearing. And I've styled it with these, I don't know if you can see, I've got this set of jewellery that matches, not sure how well you can see that, kind of multicoloured, multicoloured gemstones, and I've got a necklace which is part of the same set and a ring, and I've actually also got a bangle, but I thought that might be a bit too much. So yeah, and I'll put some full length shots and things in as we go along, so you'll see it full length. But yeah, so I've made mine in a French terry from Little Legs Fabrics, which is a kind of galaxy print, which you'll see from the photos. And it was £15.90 a metre, and I got 2 metres, which, as you will see, is a very good thing. You'll see that I titled the thumbnail My Pogonip Pandemonium, what I did wrong and how I fixed it. And really, as it says in the title, this is the Pogonip that fought back. At times it really didn't seem to want to be made. So let me tell you a little bit about how I amended up the pattern at the start, and then I'll talk to you about the process. Apologies if I keep looking down. I've got my trusty notebook here so I don't forget what I wanted to say. So when I looked at the sizing, I decided that the finished garment measurements for a small came out at bust of 43 inches, waist of 43 inches, and then the hips were also 43 inches, but I knew I wanted to lengthen it. So what I did was I made a small and then I graded out to a medium, and I also lengthened the pattern by 8.5 inches because I decided I didn't want it to sit kind of on my waist high hip. I wanted it to sit lower, and I decided that I didn't want to put elastic in the cuffs around the sleeves or around the bottom of the garment. I was just going to leave it loose. So I'll pop the link to my introductory vlog so you can see what I thought was going to happen when I did that first introductory vlog. The other thing I did was I changed the shape of the sleeves because of the boxiness of the pattern. So if I pop a pic in here, you can see that the sleeves are, doesn't show up so much on the line drawings, but when you look at photographs of people in it, the sleeves are quite kind of loose and boxy, and I know some of the other vloggers have said that they didn't like that. What I did was, if I show you the sleeve piece, I lengthened it for a starter off, and I also, up to about there is the original Friday Pattern Company pattern shape. But then also what I did was I got my Waves and Wild hot coffee pattern sleeve, and I've messed around with that as well a bit. And I just basically drew the line down to taper it off and lengthened it, as I say, a little bit, so that mine wouldn't be quite so boxy. And I'm actually really pleased with the way that came out. So those were the alterations that I decided to make up front. And oh, and the other thing was I decided I wasn't going to put the pocket on the back, that you can fold this into, A, because it's French terry, and B, that I completely agree with Christine that, if you're running for a bus somewhere and you've just taken your top off, you're not going to be wanting to faff about saying, hang on a minute, can you just hang on while I just pack my Pogonip away? Wasn't going to happen, so decided I wasn't going to do that. Okay, so let's talk about the process. So let's start with the welt pockets. So this is the welt pocket pattern piece, and I noticed when I had cut it out that actually the grain line is showing as going across that way, which would mean obviously when you're cutting it out, you've got your selvage there, and it would go across, it would be going parallel to the selvage. But on the cutting out diagram on the pattern, it shows it going that way, so that the grain line should be showing that way. So I put a message in the vlogger support group and said, I've noticed this anomaly and I don't know which way it should be. And the lovely Michelle said, yeah, it should go the other way. And I will, Paige suggested that I do this, contact Friday Pattern Company and just let them know. They may have picked that up by now, but I will email them and let them know. So that was the first thing, but I had 2 meters of fabric, so it was fine. I just recut them, didn't worry about it. And I decided that I would make my pocket pieces out of this jersey. As you can see, this clearly is not attached to my Pogonip, so obviously something happened. So I thought I'll do the pocket bags out of that because it's a bit lighter. Okay, so we get to the point of sewing up, and I watched the tutorial, and I have sewn welt pockets before, and I did welt pockets with a flap, and that was in my Birder jacket, which I did as my collaboration with Jess. So I'll pop a couple of pics in so you can see that, and I'll link the vlogs below in case you're interested. So I thought, okay, I've watched the tutorial, that makes sense, I've done it before, I'm just going to go in and do it. Big mistake, should have had a practice, I'm sure, but I didn't. So it all seems to be going fine at first, and then when I got to the point of sewing in my pocket piece, I started to have problems because the jersey was stretching out, so I was struggling to line up the notches on the pockets with the ends of the welt. It kept stretching out a bit. And the other problem I was having was that I couldn't then see my seam gauge on the plate of my machine because I got the lower front over it. So what I should have done, and I don't know why I didn't in hindsight, is I should have just drawn the seam line in with a piece of chalk and followed it. But I didn't. What I did was this. I'm just going to pause the video a sec because it's dropped on the floor. Hang on a sec. Okay, so I'm back. So in my wisdom, I went out and bought one of these, which is a Janome foot, and it's a sliding guide foot. So there's your bit that goes into your machine shank, and then what you do is you can, if I try and show you, there you go, that's better. So you can basically slide this up and down. So there's the bottom marking there is a 3/8 of an inch. So you can slide that, and then to match your guide, and then you just click that down, that holds it in place, and then you can line that up with wherever you want to line it. So in my case, this was meant to be the kind of join bit of the welt, and then off you go, and you know that you're sewing accurately. And that was great in principle, and I don't regret buying it. I did my hems with it, and that really helped as well. So I don't regret buying it, and I'm sure it'll come in useful. But what I found was that because I'd got, let me show you, I'd got so much bulk on this side of the welt here. Can you see? Because you've got the base of the lower front, you've then got your welt going in, and you've got your pocket going in. And I was finding that as I was sewing, that I'd got the gauge going across one bit like that, and it was knocking the other bit kind of out of kilter. So I'm not showing this very well, sorry. So that was uneven. So it was wanting to tip up because of the balancing. So I was using my humper jumper quite a lot. And it just meant I wasn't as accurate as I should have been. The other thing I think in hindsight was I did use the Friday Pattern Company tutorial. And she says right at the start that you can either just use drawing the centre line of the welt and the diagonals where you're going to cut, or you can draw the whole box. But she said that she found that too confusing and too much information on the fabric. And so I didn't do that. And I think in hindsight, I should have done, because I think that might have helped me better in terms of lining things up. So, as I say, I was struggling. I wasn't accurate enough and it didn't really work. And I just had a look at them again just now. I got to the point where I cut them and I turned them the right way round. And one of them actually didn't come out too badly. Which one is it? So find it. So this, is it this one? Yeah, this one isn't actually too bad. They're not finished because I kind of got to the point where I thought this isn't going to work. So that one actually wasn't too much of a disaster. I think it would have been okay. But the other one was a shocker because I ended up with holes and it just wasn't neat and it wasn't working. So I thought, okay, scrap that. And I could have recut the lower front, recut welts and tried again. But I was a bit nervous because I thought if I recut the front and then it goes wrong again, I'm not going to have enough fabric. So what I did was I recut the lower front and then I used the fabric between the disastrous welts on the lower front, and I cut myself out a Kanga pocket from another pattern that I'm doing. It's a free pattern to make a hoodie, which you'll see in a later vlog. But I recut it as a Kanga pocket, scrapped the welts and just made that. And I'm really happy with the way that looked, and I'll put some footage in there. And it's funny because I had actually thought I might put a Kanga pocket on it because I do like a Kanga pocket. I've got ready to wears with Kangas on. And then I thought, no, I should do the welt. And I might still have another go at trying to do the welt in the fabric just to prove to myself I can do it. I'll see. But yeah, so that was the welt. So, okay, scrap the welts, put the Kanga pocket in, all good. Right, carry on sewing. So what happened next? Let me just check. So yeah, I did my collar, so that was all fine. It's a directional print this, but I did clock that in time, and so I managed to get the pattern going the same way. So that was all okay. Had to stitch in the ditch. It wasn't perfect, and I didn't catch it down all the way around first time, but I managed to unpick it. All okay, not a problem. So I'm going along thinking this is okay. But I'm looking at my plackets and I'm thinking, they don't look very long. I'm not sure they're going to fit. Anyway, I then get the placket when I've done the collar and I put it next to the upper front and it didn't fit. So let me show you. That's where I had the plackets cut off originally, because I graded out to the medium size by this time. So that's where I had it originally. What I'd forgotten was that I'd lengthened the upper front of the pattern to get some of the extra length in, because I still wanted the pockets to be quite low down on my Pogonip, and I'd forgotten that I'd lengthened it. So I had to recut them. Fortunately, as I say, I had 2 meters of fabric, so I recut them, re-interfaced them, all was well. But yeah, so by this time I'm thinking this garment does not want to be made. Okay, so I got my plackets in and that's all fine, and then you overlap, for me, the right placket on top of the left placket, and you baste it in place, and then it's time to attach your lower front. So I did have Maraflex, which I was using to do things like attach the pockets and put the collar in and do all the top stitching. But I decided I was going to overlock the lower front to the upper front, and I wasn't going to put the lining piece in because there wasn't anything like the welt pocket bags or anything to hide. So I decided to omit that, matched everything up, right sides together, put it through the overlocker, but just where the plackets meet the lower front, it's really quite a lot of fabric because you've got two plackets folded over that are interfaced and on top of each other, and then you've got your French terry lower front as well in my case. So if I just stand up and show you there, you can see. I don't move this too far down, otherwise the phone will probably ping off and end up in my coffee. So there you go, that little bit. So I ended up doing a bit of what can only be described as jiggery-pokery with the sewing machine and the Maraflex to get it to go in straight, because the overlocker was kind of pushing it out of the way. It didn't like all the fabric. Okay, fine, get it in. And then I look at it and I thought, there's not a whole lot of fabric on the bottom of that to do a hem. And then I looked again and I realised I'd sewn it on upside down. And of course it's all overlocked, and this was kind of last thing one night after work, and I just thought, oh really? So pulled most of it out, pulled some of the rest of it out in screen breaks from work the next day, sew it back in, all fine. So I'm thinking, right, surely it'll be plain sailing from now on. And it was for a little while. So I got my sleeves sewn in, that was all fine, and sewed my sleeves in and then down the sides of the tunic. All fine, all goes in, everything matches up, hadn't got the lengths wrong or anything like that. And then I hemmed my sleeves. And actually, although I'd extended it intending to do like a faux cuff band, they're really still not that long. And I only ended up with a 1/2 inch. I've folded over 1/2 inch and then folded it over again and just sewn it down, top stitch with my Maraflex thread. And I've got the same sort of hem on the bottom, but I'm folded over 1 inch and then 1 inch again, and then top stitched it with the Maraflex all the way around. I'll come back to Maraflex and what I think of it later. So that was that. And then I only had to do my buttonholes on the plackets, put my buttons on, and that was it. So I'm thinking, great. So this was kind of early evening on leap year day, so the day we needed to post on Instagram. So I think, oh, that's okay. Now I had originally intended to use poppers on the placket, and I'd ordered my Maraflex from William G, and I'll pop a link down below. And what I did, I took a leaf out of who was it? Make It So, Mandy at Make It So, and I bought the big cones of Maraflex from William G, which I think they had reduced, and I bought one of those spool things. I'll put a picture in. That means you can just pop it next to your sewing machine and feed it through. That will work fine. But what I tried to order from William G were these colours of snaps, because if I put them next to my wrist, you can hopefully see they're quite a nice bright colour. And by mistake, they sent me these light pink ones, which are lovely, but I didn't really think they were going to go. So I emailed them and explained, and they came back and said, yeah, you're quite right, our mistake, we just picked the wrong one when we were packing your order. Do hang on to them and keep them, which was very kind, and we'll just send you the correct ones. So I said, thank you very much appreciated. So big shout out to William G, sorted out with no problem. Correct ones turned up really quickly, and I wasn't at that point by the time I realised the error, so it was all fine. So I got those. But then I thought, well, maybe they're a bit small, and maybe I should be using buttons, because you're meant to use 1.5 centimetre buttons for these, and the snaps are something like 12 millimetres, I think. So I found these buttons in my stash, which I think probably came from something belonging to my mother-in-law, because I've got her button collection, and I don't think that woman threw anything away, I have to say. So I had a practice, because remember I'd cut out plackets that were too short, so I folded one of them over and sewed it down, and I had a practice at buttonholes, and they came out fine. That one I miscut slightly, did another one. There we go, and that all looked fine. So yeah, I was perfectly happy with the way this was going to work out, because I'd never done a buttonhole with Mariflex, I'd never done a buttonhole on a knit fabric, and I thought, okay, need to just make sure I can do this. Why I didn't think that with the welt pockets, I've no idea, but anyway. So that's what I did. Brilliant. Put the placket in, work out where I want my buttons, put the placket in the sewing machine, get my sewing machine foot obviously already on the machine, and off I go. And it gets so far and it's going chug, 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 chug. And then it stopped and it started just sewing on the spot in that way that you just think, oh no, I'm going to end up with this big ball of thread and it's going to be in the wrong place. And I didn't know what had gone wrong, and I thought, oh, maybe it's something and nothing. Unpicked it, did it again, same thing happened. And then I worked out what had gone wrong. And what had gone wrong was, if I show you on my bit of placket that I'd folded over, effectively I was going down like this, and there's the sort of thicker placket seam, and the buttonhole foot's going down, and it was doing okay. Obviously pretend it's wider, and it's going chug, 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 chug. And then when it got to where this bit is getting near the seams, it just stuck. It just stuck completely, and it didn't want to go anywhere. And I thought, well, I can unpick it again, and I can try turning it round so that the thick seam of the placket is facing towards me, and then push the open edge into the machine, and it would probably work. And I think it probably would have worked, but by this time it's 10 o'clock, it's leap year night, and I've got a Pogonip party to go to. So what did I do? I put on my Pogonip as it was. I found my Stitch badge from the Festival of Quilts in the summer, and I pinned the placket shirt. And I went downstairs and I said to my husband, please will you take a photograph of me so I can put it on Instagram. So I made the Instagram party on time and just put it, I'll put the photo up. You can see I'm just kind of like, I've made it. And my caption says something like, right, I'm off to the party kitchen. I need a glass of wine. So then yesterday I thought about it some more, and I thought, am I going to put the buttonholes in again? And I thought, no, I'm just going to go back and go back to the poppers idea that I'd had in the first place. So I got my poppers, and I'd never used them before. So I did have a practice, you can see, and it worked perfectly. So put them on the placket, and I decided that I only wanted two. I decided in the end, you were meant to have one up here on the collar. And I just thought, no, I'm never going to wear it like that. I'm always going to wear it with it falling open. So I just went for the two, just one there and one just there. And that's where I've been going to have my buttons. So I'm thinking, right, the way this is going, it's all going to go horribly wrong. And it didn't. And they went in first time. And I'm so chuffed. And I'm really pleased I went with them. They're not jersey poppers, they're just the normal ones. And then I watched a video from Lauren from Guthrie and Garney showing you how to put them in, and she talks about special jersey poppers, which these aren't. But it is all interface, but I am a bit worried about putting too much strain on the fabric. So I have discovered I can get this on and off without undoing the poppers, so I might well do that just to preserve the life of the poppers. But I'm pretty pleased with that. So finally, it is finished, and there is a really appropriate label, which I sewed in about 4 days ago, realising that because I was only sewing in the evenings after the weekend, this would probably be very true. So this is a label from Kylie and the Machine, and it's so appropriate, and it was gifted to me by my work colleague and friend, Charlotte, who is on Instagram at Black Olive Design. I'll link her below. And she does the most amazing kind of upcycling garments, bespoke garments. And she had loads of these labels that she couldn't use, so she let me choose them. So that's one of them. So was really pleased, and I thought it was really accurate. So, okay. Summary time. What do I think? Do I like it? Well, I hated it while I was doing it. It was driving me mad. I loved being part of the Pogonip party, but I wasn't really enjoying the process of the sewing. I was, but only up to the point where I had the welt disaster, and then I got the Kanga pocket on, and I thought, oh, it's okay. But when I sewed the lower front on upside down, which was completely my fault, nothing to do with the pattern, I was kind of thinking, what else is going to go wrong? And I've thought a little bit more about it, and I think one of the other reasons I didn't enjoy it very much was I felt like I was applying woven garment techniques to a knit fabric, which of course I was, because you can make the pattern in either. And I wish I'd trusted my gut a little bit and maybe had the confidence to treat the French terry in the way that I would normally, and maybe, for example, not interface the collar, or at least maybe only interfaced half of it, and just interface the plackets where I thought I was going to put the poppers or the buttons, though that would have made me nervous in case I'd changed my mind later. But yeah, I just think it would have come out a bit softer. And I noticed Sam, Sequin Girly Creates, when she did hers, she didn't. I'll link her vlog below. She says she didn't actually use as much interfacing on her French terry one, I think it is, and it just kind of looks a bit less structured around the collar, and I quite like that look. So that was one of the things. So I wish I'd just trusted my instincts. I'm pleased with the changes I made. I'm really glad I made the sleeves narrower, and I'm glad I lengthened it and didn't go with the elastic. I think for the types of styles I wear, that's appropriate. And I love the fabric, and I think it's in no small part due to the fabric that I actually do like the finished garment. I'm not sure I would have liked it so much in a different fabric, so I will wear it. Would I make it again? I'm not in a hurry to make it again. I have to say, this is all personal preferences. The pattern's fine. I think it probably is certainly not me in its original form. Whether it's me, it suits me better, I think, in the longer form. Although it would be quite interesting to make it in a woven, I'm not sure making the changes that I've done to it would really work. So I don't know. I think the jury's out, but I'm not in a rush to make it again. Let me put it like that. The other thing I just wanted to say is I'm glad I got the Maraflex, because it did make life easier in terms of things like sewing on pockets when I got them in the right place, and doing obviously the stitching in the ditch, because I really wouldn't have wanted to do a lightning stitch. And can you imagine if I'd done a lightning stitch and then had to do all that unpicking? It would have been horrendous. So yeah. But a lot of people say it's a game changer for them, and I don't feel that way about it. I certainly don't feel that it would prevent me from using my overlocker where I can use my overlocker. I'd still rather, because I just like the way the seams look. And if I'd had more time and not been rushing to finish, I think through preference I still would have cover stitched my hems. So yeah, I'm glad I've got it. I've got it in black and I've got it in white. And if I was making a garment where I was going to have to do a lot on my sewing machine, I would buy other colours. I might look to get, say, something like a navy that I might use quite a bit, or a beige or something. And I actually already have a cream because I was going to sew some scuba for Sew Frugal last year, and then in the end didn't do it. But I don't think for me it's a game changer in the sense that it's going to stop me using my overlocker. I just don't think it is. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know in the comments down below if you joined in the Pogonipparty. And to my lovely viewer Liz, who comments every week, I really hope you managed to fix your Pogonip, and I'm so sorry that it's been such a trauma, and I feel your pain, but I really hope you managed to fix it. I'll be back next week on Saturday the 9th with my Sew Yellow for Endo suggestions. So that's the challenge, Sew Yellow for Endo 24, which is being run by the lovely Jess over at So What If I Sew. So I will be back with my thoughts on that in a week's time. So until then, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.